All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something pretty amazing, how teachers from all over the world are stepping into American classrooms to fill some really critical roles. We're going to break down the whole thing for you, why it's happening, how it works, and probably the most important part, the big decisions these teachers have to make. Let's get to it.
So think about it for a second. Why would a school in North Carolina go all the way to Nairobi to find a math teacher? I mean, it seems like a really long way to go, right? But believe it or not, this isn't just some random choice. It's actually a direct answer to a huge structural problem happening inside the U.S. school system. And the whole reason why? Well, it comes down to one staggering number.
90%. Yeah, that's a big one. According to the Learning Policy Institute, 90% of the annual demand for teachers in the United States comes from attrition. And attrition just means teachers leaving the job before they retire, often because of burnout and a lack of support. Experts have a name for it. They call it the leaky bucket problem. School districts are just constantly scrambling to fill spots just to keep the lights on.
And that leaky bucket? Well, it's created a full-blown crisis. We're not just talking about finding any teacher to stand in front of a class. The real problem is finding qualified, experienced educators for very specific, high-need subjects where, honestly, the well has just run dry in the U.S., and these shortages are really bad in a few key areas.
What's really striking is just how consistent this list is. You can look at over 40 states, and these are the jobs that are just so hard to fill. Special education is almost always at the top of the list. It's an intense job with high turnover, and for STEM subjects, math and science, schools are basically in a constant war for talent. So this is where the global community comes into play.
Okay, so to fix this gap, the United States has a very specific official program. It's called the Bridge USA J1 Teacher Exchange Program, and its whole purpose is to connect these schools that are in desperate need with amazing teachers from all around the globe. But, and this is a big but, it is not just a simple work visa.
And this right here is probably the most important thing to understand. The J1 visa program is run by the Department of State, not the Department of Labor. Why does that matter? Because its main goal is cultural exchange. So if you're an applicant, you're not just a math teacher, you're a cultural ambassador who happens to teach math. Forgetting that little detail is one of the biggest reasons applications get rejected.
So how does a teacher in, say, Kenya get matched with a school in Virginia? Well, here's the thing. They can't just send their resume to a school district. It doesn't work that way. They have to go through an officially designated sponsor organization. These sponsors are the essential middlemen for the entire process.
Seriously? Picking the right sponsor is probably the single most important choice a teacher is going to make on this journey. The sponsor is the one who checks your credentials, finds you a job, and, most importantly, issues the DS 2019 form. That's the magic document you need to even apply for the visa. They're your guide, your validator, and, yeah, your gatekeeper.
Now, there are a bunch of sponsors out there, but for this explainer, we're going to focus on 3 of the absolute biggest players that recruit a lot of teachers from places like Kenya. We're talking about Global Teaching Partners, Participate Learning, and Educational Partners International. And you'll see, each one has a totally different way of doing things.
First up, we've got Global Teaching Partners, or GTP. These guys are a huge deal in the Southeast, especially in places like North and South Carolina and Virginia. People know them as a fantastic all-arounder, with a really strong focus on building community and providing support. So GTP's model is built around this really unique support system. They actually assign new teachers what they call global champions and educator success coaches. It's like having a dedicated pit crew to help you adjust. Financially, it's pretty simple. GTP doesn't charge you a fee to find you a job, but the teacher is responsible for the upfront costs, getting your degree evaluated, visa fees, and your flight. Okay, next is Participate Learning. Now, these folks have been in the game for a long time, and they are famous for having some of the best orientation and settlement support out there. And trust me, when you're moving your whole life to another country, that is a huge deal.
And here's where we see a major difference. Just like GTP, Participate Learning won't charge you a program fee, but their big selling point is the financial help you get after you arrive. They offer subsidized health insurance and free life insurance. I mean, that can literally save a teacher thousands of dollars a year, which makes them a fantastic option for anyone coming over with their family.
And our third big player is Educational Partners International, or EPI. EPI is a massive, very structured organization. They recruit heavily for those really critical shortage areas we were talking about earlier, especially STEM and special education. Now, EPI is known for having a super rigorous screening process, but if you make it through, the payoff is some incredible logistical support. We're talking about airport pickups, help finding your first apartment, all that stressful stuff. Financially, their model is a lot like GTP's. No placement fees, but the teacher covers their own costs for the visa and getting their credentials evaluated.
Okay, so let's put it all together side by side. It makes it so much clearer, right? So first thing you notice, all three have low upfront fees for the teacher, which is awesome. The real difference is the kind of support they offer. You can think of it like this. GTP is your great all-rounder with that one-on-one coaching. Participate Learning is the no-brainer if you have dependents because of that amazing insurance subsidy. And EPI is perfect for that highly qualified STEM or special ed teacher who wants all the logistical help they can get when they first arrive.
Choosing a sponsor is a huge piece of the puzzle, but we have to talk about the bigger financial picture. This whole journey, well, it's not free. Even if the sponsor doesn't charge placement fees, getting from a classroom in your home country to a classroom in the US takes some serious startup cash.
So what are we really talking about, money-wise? How much cash does an applicant need to have saved up before they even get on the plane, and long before that first American paycheck hits their bank account? Let's break down the numbers.
Okay, first you got to get your university transcripts evaluated to prove they're equivalent to a U.S. degree. That's about $200. Then you have the visa application and SEVIS fees, which are non-refundable and add up to around $405. A one-way flight can easily run you over $1,200. And this is the big one. You need settling in money for your apartment security deposit, your first month's rent, food, everything. Plan on about $2,500 for that.
So when you add it all up, an applicant needs to be ready to spend roughly $4,000 US in upfront costs. That is a serious investment. It requires a ton of financial planning long before you even fill out the first application. It really changes how you have to approach the whole thing.
You know, this quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. This isn't just applying for a new job. It is managing a massive, complex, international project. A project about your own life, your finances, and your career.
So that's really the bottom line here. It's a huge trade-off. It requires a really significant investment of time, energy, and money. But the return on that investment is a life-changing chance to get incredible international experience, to share your own culture, and to make a real difference in a school that truly, desperately needs your skills. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? For the teacher who makes this incredible journey, and for the American students who get to learn from them, is this powerful cultural exchange worth that very steep price of admission? That's something every potential teacher and every school district has to decide for themselves. Thanks so much for joining us.